everybody, Tekking101 here to review Bleach chapter number 670, titled The Perfect Crimson. Actually, thinking back now, I'm not really sure why Crimson is in the title. I mean, there's a little bit with Kenpachi, but that's not nearly the focus point of the entire chapter. Although, fun fact, it is 100 chapters ago that Haruka released her Bankai Haka no Togame, so felt like I should probably mention that. Good times. Good times. Anyway, I bet a lot of you are probably wondering at this point why the fuck I'm holding this watermelon. Anyway, chapter starts off with Kenpachi cutting the fuck out of Gerard. Valkyrie sliced him right, well, not perfectly in half. It's a little bit more to the right side, but hey, he's kind of like a mindless beast right now, so I don't think, symmetry's really his prime objective, honestly. But yeah, Gerard's two halves, subsequently crash down into the Varveld, destroying more of it at this point. They don't even need to worry about dismantling this place once they're done. It's not like, okay, guys, we managed to defeat the Quincy's. I guess we should start dismantling all this Quincy shit now. Their own battles are managing to do more damage to the place than the Shinigami probably ever could. Anyway, after witnessing this display, Kenpachi arrives back on the ground, and because remember, I guess it's kind of a little bit odd of how it worked, because the way that it was set up was that you had Gerard falling off the side of the Varveld. He activated his wings, recomposed himself, then Kenpachi just kind of walked up to the side of it, looking down. Gerard's coming at him, and I guess Kenpachi leapt into the air, sliced him in half, over the, the void, not the void, but over the space above the Seirete, and then managed to go back to the Varveld. I guess that's how that worked out. Well, whatever. Kenpachi lands safely back on it, and then you have Toshiro and Byakuya just kind of witnessing this whole spectacle. Alright, despite the fact that we live in this feudalistic society with magical swords, that is seriously something I never thought I'd be able to see in my lifetime. Okay, well, I guess we should probably go help Zaraki. Hey, hold on there, you little snowflake. He just tore off a giant's arm with his teeth and then sliced him in half. Do you want to fuck with that? I don't really want to fuck with that. So Byakuya figures out that, yeah, Kenpachi's not exactly in his right mind right now, and that his right mind's not really that rational to begin with, but yeah, he's gone completely, like I said last review, Guts Berserk mode. And I don't even watch Berserk, so I don't know if that has, like, a particular transformation Guts goes through. I just know he has these scenes where he just goes completely fucking insane. By the way, there's, my neighbor is a Jedi. I didn't know if you knew that, and, he's dating a Sith right now, actually, and that's... Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. It's a lot of bickering and fighting. I hear the sex is amazing, so if you hear some vibrating back here, that's just them having a lightsaber duel. Happens a lot, honestly. You'd call the cops, but after a while, they just stop showing up to your house, so you just kind of have to deal with it. Anyway, though, Byakuya and Toshiro decide to keep their distance as Kenpachi just does a backflip onto a building and lets out a manly scream of power! Or if you're reading this directly from the translation, it's yeah. Now, if you've been a fan of Bleach for a decent amount of time, this might be calling some stuff back to the time that Ichigo sliced Aizen directly in half. And now you're thinking about, how did it go for Aizen? Yeah, so sure enough, the two halves of Gerard begin to piece themselves back together. They both begin to lift themselves up, and we see his Quincy crosses appearing in the middle. Don't really know where it was coming from. Was it like inside of his brain? I mean, I know there's been a few instances where, like, the Quincy cross was actually physically inside the body. Like, remember Asnot when he went to his Volt standing, like, it was, like, underneath his eyelid or something like that. So it's pretty crazy. And Lilia's was actually his eye, I think, to begin with. It was like he opened his eye and then his, like, Quincy cross came out of that. But the way I'm looking at it here, it was like the Quincy cross was, like, legitimately buried in his skull.
Die by the fire and beginning again. What breaks my pride will break your skull. I bring the end. I am an archangel.
Alright, so his new form doesn't really change him all that much. He just kind of gets a cooler helmet, the, markings extend all around his body. His Hofunung, his Hope Blade alters slightly. It has like a glowing Quincy cross on it now. He levels in another entire section of the Varveld when he launches an attack. Toshiro manages to leap in and freeze it at the last minute, mitigating the damage. I think some debris falls down on the Seirete, but not the whole thing. Now, here's the question I have about this, Are the barriers still a thing? Because that was like a big thing about the Seirete, that was like a big thing about the connection between the Seirete and the Soul Palace, how there were these 72 barriers that made it so you simply could not just travel up or fall down and reach certain places. You would get shredded by these barriers. Now, I can understand them being afraid of Gerard falling down because he's a Quincy and he's shown the ability to heal himself. So I could see him falling down, getting like incinerated or shredded by the barriers and somehow managing to piece himself back together. You know, I maybe that might or might not happen, but I can understand their concern. But if you're just talking about standard, like, debris falling from the Soul Palace, you know, wouldn't that surely be destroyed by the barriers? Just saying. But yeah, Toshiro managed to stop a lot of the rubble from falling. However, in doing so, his second ice flower completely dissolves. And of course, as we all know, Toshiro's like a broken record with this. Whenever his all 12 of his ice flowers dissipate, his Bankai stops functioning. He goes back into his sealed state. So, you know, he's not in a good place right now, honestly. Yeah, we see a cool spread of Gerard standing there very triumphant with his angel wings in the background, holding his sword. His shield is also altered slightly and now has like 5 points on it, so it's pretty badass. He states that the name of his release is God's Divine Authority. You respect my authority. I'm the god of the Valkyrie. God damn it. I can't do a good Eric Cartman. What do you want from me? And I am the most noble and purest of all of God's knights. Even when facing my mortality, I would still wield my sword in the name of God. Okay, so in this context, we have an angel, or archangel, I guess would be the correct statement, because he's like all decked out in battle gear, and fighting against Kenpachi, who's now been altered into more of a Kishin devil kind of facade with, you know, horns on his head and everything. So, I'm just gonna throw this out there for Kubo. Symbolism! So Kenpachi raises up his blade ready to launch an attack when his arm at its elbow begins to just get ripped apart and shredded and blood starts splattering everywhere. And then we get a little bit of insight into exactly how Kenpachi's Bankai works. Like I said, we don't really get a lot of information on what it's called or what Yachiru's really going on about or what she really is. But we see this one panel here where we see Yachiru actually on Kenpachi's shoulder. Now, the way that his Bankai is actually being operated, this is more of like a representation of her, like, guiding Kenpachi, because whenever Toshiro and Byakuya are Toshiro and Byakuya are looking at Kenpachi, I don't think they're seeing Yachiru on his shoulder. It's more like that Kenpachi becomes this mindless beast that has really no direction, and Yachiru is kind of like the pilot directing Kenpachi to go wherever, you know, he needs to go and defeat his opponents. They're really going at it over there. Yeah, so yeah, basically though, the gist is the amount of power that his Bankai is outputting is simply too much for his body to handle in one setting, and they still haven't gotten like the synchronization right of how much power you can put in one part of the body. If you put too much in, then the body will get ripped to shreds. Now, I don't think this is like a permanent damage for Kenpachi, but it just proves that they're not exactly, you know, they can't use their Bankai to its fullest potential yet. Sort of like the ability One for All, if you've ever read or watched My Hero Academia. You know, how, you know, you have all this power packed in one little body, you can't, like, use all of it at once or it could, like, blow your limbs off you, you know, something kind of like that. And this is something I brought up last review, or maybe 2 reviews ago. It's like, look, I don't really have that big of a problem Kenpachi learning Bankai. It would make sense that he knows Bankai. The problem is him in actually using it effectively, because you're supposed to be able to train for like 10 years or something to truly master Bankai. It's not something that you can just like, oh, I've just Game Shark code my way to use Bankai now, and I'm a complete master of it. No. So, the damage that he's taken is even worse though, because he collapses to the ground, Yachiru apologizes, and Gerard basically slams his sword right on top of Kenpachi, crushing him like a fucking ant. So that's pretty much all we get from Kenpachi in this chapter. It's one of those things where the chapter ended and I'm like, damn, that was cool. Oh wait, what happened with Kenpachi? I don't know what's going on here. So yeah, he gets crushed, and you see Toshiro lying on the ground, also not really feeling too well. Gerard notices, oh shit, you're still alive, so he knocks Toshiro back with a wave of his sword. He gets kind of like scooped up by Zenbo and Sakura, and he lands right next to Byakuya. And Byakuya is starting to realize, oh, we're kind of fucked here. Like, Kenpachi went to his Bankai, that's great and everything, but he's not looking too good now. He got crushed. Toshiro's almost out of his Bankai. So, Byakuya brings up, like, hey, Captain Hitsugaya, you're at your limit, man. You gotta release your Bankai, because this could have, like, some serious negative effects on your body if you don't, if you keep fighting on the, like, tight rope here you're walking. And Toshiro's just like, oh, no, not yet, not yet. And Byakuya's like, oh, come on, this is stupid. Your ice flowers are about to disintegrate. You're gonna be done then. And then Toshiro's like, hey, I never mentioned that when all my ice powders are shattered, that was the end and my Bankai dissipates. The truth is, once the last petal disappears, that is truly when Daigen Yorimaru has reached full maturity. Okay! So, last scene of the chapter has Toshiro, becoming an adult, and, he, gets older physically, and, he's got great body, chin, and probably has good 12-pack abs, and, okay, I don't know. I'm feeling so many conflicting emotions about this right now. Okay, well, yeah, so, that's his true Bankai ability, is that when all the ice powers dissipate, it doesn't mean the end of it, it actually gains, like, a whole new, like, maturity level, because that's something that's always been brought up with Toshiro's Bankai, like, it hasn't reached full maturity yet, and I'm sitting here just like, when the fuck is it gonna happen, you know? And I just figured it was gonna be one of those things, like, he wasn't going to reach full maturity in this at this point in the series. Like, maybe at the end of the story, they might do a time skip into the future, and we see Toshiro there, and now he's mastered it completely. Like, something like that. I never really considered it was going to be mastered at this point. Certainly didn't expect him to hit puberty. That's going to make things really awkward with both Momo and especially Rangiku. You know, because all those times Rangiku, you know, like, basically walks up to Toshiro and, you know, ends up, you know, hitting him in the head with her melons. You know, yeah, that's going to be a little bit more awkward now because, he's not short anymore, which actually, that makes a lot more sense of all the jokes he was making in the previous chapters. You know, he was kind of taking the whole, you know, me being short thing a little bit better than he usually does. And maybe that's because, like, oh yeah, because I'm about to go through this huge growth spurt. I don't know if this is going to be a thing that's going to be like, as soon as he, you know, goes into his full Bankai, he gets this form, and it's going to, like, you know, release after he seals it again. I don't know if he's going to stay in this grown-up form. I'm sure there's a lot of fangirls that are going to want him to stay in this form. In fact, you better watch. If you have any fangirls out there, you gotta be careful. You now have Byakuya and grown-up Bishonen Toshiro Hitsugaya and the same panel together. You know, you better want to you make sure your heart. I mean, take care of yourself. That's all I'm saying. As for his Bankai itself, it changes a little bit. He has now more, like, it looks like armor, like actual proper, like, ice armor, like shoulder guards and, like, gauntlets on his hands, and he gets, like, some leg guards as well. So it looks like more refined, more proper, like, he can control the shape and what his Bankai actually takes. One last thing I should mention, though, is about the ice flowers, because a lot of people were saying, wasn't it pretty much confirmed that whenever the ice flowers dissipate, that's when his Bankai is, you know, that's how much time he has left in his Bankai? So I actually went back and read the chapter where that was first mentioned. Like I said, Kubo sometimes draws the ice flowers when he's in battle, sometimes he doesn't. But the one time it was brought up specifically was when he was fighting against Grimchow's Fractionus, Arrancar number 11, Xiaolong Kufang. And Xiaolong's the one that was like, huh, when those ice powers dissipate, I bet that's when your Bankai is done, because you are clearly young, you're clearly inexperienced, Bankai probably takes a lot of toll on you. And Toshiro never said anything. He never confirmed it, but he never denied it either. It was just very clear that he was really beaten up in that fight because they haven't released the limit letter or anything like that. And then, at the very end of that battle, after Toshiro cuts down Xiaolong, we see a panel where we had one ice flower left. And then in the very next panel, Toshiro just gets, like, just blood splattering all over his body, and then he passes the fuck out. Now, you could take this to mean a few things. You could take this to mean, oh, it's because the last ice flower is disintegrating, that's what caused the heavy damage. Or you could say that it was because of Xiaolong, like, he launched, like, his attacks, Toshiro finally took the full brunt of it, and that's because he was splattering the blood. The ice flowers had nothing to do with it, you know? We certainly didn't, either way, we did not see that last ice flower crumble apart and him, you know, his Bankai being released and him passing out or whatever. We didn't see that. So, Yeah, it's not like Kubo is retconning anything here. The only thing that is a little bit of a problem is I think during the Bount arc, which is anime only, it's not, you know, adhering to the manga storyline, when Toshiro fought against Go Koga, the Bount with the Iron Axe, with Doll, Dolk, the doll, I think he said to maybe him that's how his ice flowers work. Maybe. I can't remember 100%, but if he ever did say it, it was during the Bount arc, and that was not canon. They didn't know yet, and I guess they didn't bother to ask Kubo. So anyway, yeah, that's the end of the chapter. Like I said, we don't really know much about Kenpachi. I'm sure he's not dead yet, but now it actually might be really cool. If Kenpachi manages to get back up, we have like Kenpachi, Byakuya, and Bishonen Toshiro now all in proper Bankai state, launching a full-on attack against Gerard, which I'm fine with. I mean, Gerard, he's a pretty badass opponent. He's pretty big, and, you know, look at all the shit it took Askin to get him taken down. You know, Uehara, Bankai, Yoruichi, Thundercat mode, fucking Grimjow going into Resurrection. It took a lot of shit to bring down Askin. It's gonna take an equal amount of shit to take down fucking Gerard. So I'm cool with either way. I'm certainly not pissed off. Like, Toshiro's stealing the show from Kenpachi. At least he gets one awesome moment. Toshiro, if you look at his battle record, doesn't look too good. He hasn't won a lot of fights. He usually ends up getting, you know, them interrupted, or somebody else cuts down his opponent, or he just gets fucking decimated. So, you know, he grows up, grows a pair, finally drops his balls, and learns how to use Bankai properly, and then he actually gets a good solid victory before the series is over. I'm cool with that. Alright then, well I think that's everything. I'm gonna get going now here, guys. So, I should probably mention the watermelon. Well... Okay. Do you seriously want to know about the watermelon? Do you want to know? Okay. Alright. Well, remember that one extra chapter of Bleach, and in the episode of the anime Bleach on the Beach, where the main cast goes to the beach somewhere, and they build that sandcastle, and they have, like, the contest, and, you know, everyone's in their swimsuits, and it's very heavily probably the most fan service shit that Kubo's ever done. Kubo doesn't do, like, fan service heavy chapters a lot, so that's something I gotta kind of commend him for, I should say. Or in the anime, it's when, you know, the giant watermelon tentacle hentai monsters showed up and splattered their goo all over the female cast. Yeah, that was pretty weird. But anyway, yeah, in that episode, you see Toshiro eating a watermelon. And it's kind of been stated like that's one of his like favorite meals. So I was shopping earlier today, and I knew I was going to do this video today, so I'm like, oh look, a watermelon. I could probably do something funny with that in the review, but I never really came up with anything. So I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to hold it the entire review and just fuck with people and see how many people comment. You know, what's up with the watermelon, you know? I'm probably not even going to eat this. I don't really care for watermelon. But yeah. Watermelon! Shit!